Do you ever find that in your warehouse you have dead stock? You can't sell it, no one wants to buy it, and you can't get a refund on it. Or alternatively, you're missing inventory in your warehouse that you need. You've got sales coming in and you're low on stock and you haven't ordered more stock in time. All these things hit profit. And I've been there. I've run my own Shopify store and had exactly that problem. But we've partnered it up with Inventory Planner, who have the most incredible app to help you manage that and forecast exactly what products, what SKUs, even down to what color of product you need to order in advance to make sure stock levels remain consistent throughout. They're also running a 7-day boot camp. And if you want to go and sign up to that, it's 7 emails over 7 days. And it takes the same amount of time as your morning coffee. And in 7 days, like me, you can become an inventory management pro. Both links are in the description. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Winning Shopify podcast. First time here, please hit subscribe. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you've been tuning in for a while, thank you so much for coming back. Great to have you on this mission with us to improve people's Shopify stores. Today, I had an amazing chat with a chap called Nick from a company called Clay Imports. These guys are based in Mexico and they've got an incredible journey. Nick and I do talk incredibly fast, so please do slow down the recording if you need to. But today is action-packed with so many different things we were talking about. So definitely listen till the end where we start to talk about some of the new AI integrations he's using within his business. Before we listen to today's episode, please do check out the Growth Hub. It's a new community where we are on a mission to build the world's biggest independent Shopify community. It's completely free to join. So if you haven't already, check out wwspodcast.com and go to Growth Hub and sign up there. We'll let you into the Growth Hub as soon as possible, but there is a little process just to approve and moderate people so that we don't get any agencies or anybody trying to jump into the community and sell to all of you guys. It's for e-com brands only. So I hope to see you there and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks again for tuning in. So Nick, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Nick. Thank you for having me back.
Good. Well, lovely to have you. And we're going to hear about where you are right now as well. I'm always fascinated by my guests' backgrounds. But before we dive in, Nick, if anyone's not recognized your face or heard previous episodes you were on about a year ago now, give us a little overview to your business, Clay Imports, and a bit about your background as well so we know who we're talking to today.
Oh, yeah, man. So about a year ago, you invited me onto the podcast. And at that time, we were talking about the varying developments and evolutions of my e-commerce store, which is Clay Imports. Clay Imports specializes in handmade clay tiles, decorative handmade clay tiles. And as I said in the last episode, last time I was on the show, during the pandemic, Clay Imports evolved from a brick and mortar store to 100% e-com, and that was primarily through just necessity. Not being able to have people come into the store during the pandemic. And anyway, but of course, since the last show about a year ago, a lot has happened, and I'm excited to tell you about it. These include not only, necessary but quite boring software add-ons and widgets and apps, but also very exciting adventures through different countries.
Absolutely. I mean, we are going to talk about all of that. And I think something that's fascinating about your business that's probably very different to a lot of other stores we talk to is obviously your products are heavy. Like you guys need some serious warehousing, don't you, for storing products? And also that includes the delivery is not the easiest thing to manage. So you guys are obviously based in Mexico right now. Tell us about the journey of like, when did you get to Mexico? How have you ended up there? And most importantly, if anyone's missed last summer, tell us a little bit about the specific location because you're quite close to the clay itself, aren't you? And where all of that comes from. So yeah, tell us a bit more about the whole journey, the geographic journey, as much as the kind of digital and financial journey you've been on.
Yeah, Nick. I mean, so Clay Imports is actually a U.S. company. We're based in Austin, Texas. Our headquarters are in Austin, Texas. And as I said, Clay Imports was a complete brick and mortar store. Even though we had a website, I think we were using, I believe it was like WordPress or something for a decade. But yeah, so Clay Imports had some online representation, but our store was our real business, and that store was located in Austin, Texas, which is where I'm from. My family and I are from Austin, Texas. Nice. And again, a little bit of recap from the last episode. So 95, maybe 99% of our business was people walking in the door, viewing products in a very conventional showroom manner, being talked to by like some kind of a
Mm.
sales consultant, and then in most cases those people would either walk out the door with their
Yep.
pallet of heavy tile that they would pick in the showroom, and then we'd have a warehouse representative like pull it out of the warehouse and then just load it up either in their vehicle or very often they would send their tile installer or contractor over. But the process is still very this process is still very much followed in the United States. I'm sure
Mm.
that most people listening have probably at some point during some home remodel or something experienced something very similar.
Yep.
And as you were saying, tile is big and bulky and heavy, and anybody who's ever worked with it before knows that in addition to it being a very cumbersome product, it's also
Mm.
fragile. If it's not handled properly, then it can break before it's installed.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, it's like it's actually even like a personal, not even business life or whatever, but even personally, I think that there's some serious connections between just having a lot of stuff and then being tied into a certain place because of all your
Yep.
stuff. Like people buy so much stuff and fill up their house, and then it's like that's fun. I guess there's some security, stability that comes with that, but then
Yep.
it really anchors you into that place.
Mm.
And that's why Clay Imports stayed in Austin from the time that I bought like my first box of tile to resell until 2020
Yep.
when we were at our max capacity of inventory in Austin. Yeah. So
Mm.
anyway, the stuff is big and heavy, and then but during the pandemic, and again going into a little bit of recap, but during the pandemic, as many people know, we couldn't have people in our store, and things were
Yep.
really weird. And I don't want to get into all that again. Everybody remembers
Yeah,
how that
we've all moved
awful.
on from that now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But one of the most interesting things that came out of that was I basically just took all of our money and
Mm.
I started a Shopify website, and and that was pretty terrifying, but I just did it, and man, it really took off. It really took off, and
Yep.
yeah, and so an immediate problem that we had following that was we sold all of our inventory that was in the United States, and then,
Mm.
as many people can remember, there were these supply chain issues, which we were very much dealing with along with everyone else. So
Yeah.
the store did great. We sold everything that we had in the United States in Austin, and then we're just like trying to get more stuff. And then we started this thing like made to order where we were selling stuff and then providing it to people, which was interesting for a little while. But I think it was mostly that was successful only because there just weren't a lot of other options for people to get their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So then, do you want to ask a question before I keep going?
No,
Just you
absolutely fine. I mean, yeah, I think the story is really, really powerful. So I think, yeah, you carry on, but I guess one of the biggest things I think really is like this move to Mexico sounds quite interesting. Like the way you guys have changed warehouse, and I think you certainly brought back some amazing PTSD of the pandemic. But tell us about this move to Mexico. Then,
Yeah.
like, what's changed in that, and what's that done for the business?
Oh yeah. So I mean, as I was saying, I sold all the
Mm.
stuff, right? So then I sold
Yeah.
all the stuff, and people weren't coming into the showroom anymore to try to buy
Mm.
stuff. And that really put me in this position where I just like took a step back and I was like, I don't have to be in this location anymore. And it was
Yeah.
the first time in a decade where I didn't have to be at a place to greet a
Mhm.
customer, or I didn't have to have the stuff right there to give them what they bought. And that was kind of mind blowing. And
Mm.
it took a little bit of realization, or it really took some. I talked to a lot of people about it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Man, should I bother like bringing all this stuff back into this warehouse where I don't really need to be?" And since
Mm.
the e-com store was doing so well, those customers weren't even regional anymore. They were all over the United States. So I'm
Yep.
like, man, why am I even going to bring it into this, the middle of like one of the most expensive cities in the United States just to ship it somewhere else? So then I started exploring uh, with, with Mexico and our vendors. And
Mm.
prior to this, Clay Imports had vendors in other countries beyond Mexico. But again, going back to the supply chain issue, Mexico
Mm.
was right there, bordering Texas. So and we had vendors there and relationships. So I went to Mexico, and that was incredibly challenging, just like figuring out where to start. But I'll get
Mm.
into how I basically. I had some insight towards the paths to go down. Um, but yeah, that was the first time selling all this stuff and having no people that came into the store.
Mm.
Really, it was so liberating. So then I started thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to try something else. And I knew that Mexico was something I wanted to try, but it's overwhelming. And anybody who has not only managed a business but managed a business in the same fashion for a decade knows that
Yeah.
trying to like make a big change, it's overwhelming. But fortunately, there were some resources in Texas. There was one specifically called Pro Coahuila. Pro Coahuila is part of an initiative for Pro Mexico, and if people are interested in um, just dabbling with the idea or even trying to understand more about business in Mexico and trade
Mm.
agreements or logistic, anyway, it's a good source to start.
Yeah.
And I found this source through another cool program called the Sister Cities program, which is actually an international program. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not, no, but it's bringing back flashbacks of like when we left the
Yeah.
EU, and now we have all these different agreements to like move stuff in and out of the UK with the EU. Like there's all these different tax rules, and it's actually made it cheaper for some businesses and way more expensive for most. But it's probably very similar. Which way did I vote? I've said this publicly. I voted Remain because at the time I thought we should stay in the trade group and everything else. Since the votes happened, I never want to go back in. And there's a lot of people that share my view here in the UK. I think the EU is so bureaucratic. It's so anti-business, anti-trade, unless it's all within itself. And there are so many. I won't go into too much detail today. I'll do a whole episode on this if enough people email me, and that is a threat. But there's just so many different things now, like the monopolies that certain companies have because the EU like them and they can trade all around the EU, versus someone new trying to break into the market. Basically, if you're not in the EU, trading with it is difficult, and it's
Hmm.
like the EU are just creating their own kind of like big economy over here and ignoring the rest of the world. And the problem with that is globalization's happening. And so like a lot of the things that a lot of the parts, for example, you need to manufacture products in the EU come from other countries. And they're making it harder and harder for those countries, which is just bumping the price up like crazy within the EU. So I think, yeah, I voted Remain, but I would never go back in. But it sounds very similar, actually. The different trade things we've all had to explore,
Hmm.
both with physical and digital products. There's all these weird, wacky rules that make absolutely no sense. Like there's one that's value added tax, or you guys call it sales tax in the US. On the VAT, if we sell a digital product that is custom made, we don't have to charge VAT. If it's a commodity and can be downloaded as a PDF, have to charge VAT. And it's like, but only to a business, not to an individual, but up to a certain point. And there's all these weird, wacky rules that even the tax lawyers don't understand. And it's just, this was like the worst possible outcome of the whole situation. So we don't want back in, but we do want it to improve. But it sounds very similar to the thing you were saying actually about, what you're explaining about trading between the US and Mexico. I imagine both governments have stuff to try and protect their economies so everything doesn't get exported, but also the US will want to use some of the advantages, I imagine, of trading with Mexico, which would be that there must be infinite cheaper costs, as well as some of the extra logistics that's going on, which again is good for economy because then people are spending money on logistics. I might be completely wrong with that, but yeah, it'd be interested to see what your take on it's been.
Yeah, well, I mean, unlike a lot of other trade programs, the United
Mm.
States and Mexico and Canada also, I forget about them sometimes. Um,
They're
but
up at the other end from you, though, aren't they? They're up at the
yeah,
north side. So,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, they have a pretty a pretty outstanding free trade agreement,
Mm.
which means almost all products come and go either way with zero tax applied to it,
Oh, well.
which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, did you know that? Did you know? I don't know if I mentioned this last time. Something I'm so fascinated about with trade. One specific example. Did you know that
Mm.
Morocco and
Mm.
you can import stuff from Morocco to the United States with zero tax anytime, no
Oh,
matter
wow.
what the product. That's because Morocco was the first country to recognize the United States as
Oh,
independent
wow.
nation.
I
Yeah,
did
and
not know that.
in
That's
exchange,
fascinating.
the United States said, forever, Morocco, we'll never charge you tax if you want to bring stuff and sell it in the United States.
I did once fly from Morocco to New York, and it was cheap. It was
Mm,
very cheap, and I wonder if there was no tax on the flight from the US side because of that agreement or something.
no.
But anyway, so you moved to Mexico. Let's
Oh
let's
yeah,
get back to Shopify. But
yeah. So
we talk about
yes,
trade all day otherwise. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, getting to Mexico was a challenge in itself. But as I
Hmm.
said, there were some really cool free resources, at least available in Texas. But I would imagine
Yeah.
very much so all over the world, whatever your country that you're from. But
Mm.
yeah, and then the reasons, as you were saying, the reasons for going to Mexico. Yeah, there's a lot of benefits. I mean, one of the major benefits was I was no longer. I didn't want to be in the position anymore where I was so far away from both my customers and the
Yeah, yeah,
products that were being manufactured. It really
yeah.
put me in a vulnerable position. So now I'm just at the source of the products, you know. So I'm right there with all the products when they're being manufactured, where they're being stored, and I ship them directly from the manufacturing source
Mm.
to our customers. So yeah, there were huge advantages. But yeah, once I got there, that was the crazy part. Also, was so this is the situation I'm in right now. Just I
Mm.
mean, probably 2 or 3 months ago, were the absolute final changes to the point where I don't keep any more products in the United States. There's
Yeah.
zero inventory in the United States. Um, but the challenge and that all of the benefits that I found from moving to Mexico and not having to be storing stuff in the United States or in Austin, all the benefits resulted in me being able to expand. So I'm able
Mm.
to like make more stuff, get more inventory, invest in more sales. The company's growing, and that's all positive. But then I came into the challenges of having a lot of stuff in a warehouse, um, and so now uh, it's hard to organize, 3,000 pallets of material. Um, Even though I use Shopify inventory system right now.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so two of the things that I've implemented just since the last time we talked are,
Mm.
and these are really cool money saving apps. One of them for sure.
Yeah.
This is Shippo. Shippo is like this intermediary between me, the business who's selling the stuff, and then the various parcel providers like
Mm.
USPS, UPS, DHL, FedEx, whatever. And it basically just gives me like a Expedia type of a dashboard, basically, where I can see the
Mm.
various shippers and how much they're charging, and I get to choose who I want to use. And it's all very
That's cool.
automated. Yeah, and it pulls the data from the Shopify order, so it's all very automated. But it's really been able to save a lot of money, regardless
Mm.
of where I'm shipping from or where I'm shipping to.
Wow. And I mean, I was going to come around and talk to apps because obviously one of the big topics that we're going to talk about in a minute as well is using AI within customer service. And I know you guys have obviously, you mentioned before we hit record as well that you guys have been playing with different apps in Shopify. So I think certainly for someone like you looking at all the different shipping services is so important. Just to shamelessly plug our community, which I know your wife signed up to as well with
Yeah.
the Growth Hub community. Um, yeah, if anyone's not joined, come join the community. Some of the questions that have come up in there, we've got a whole warehousing and fulfillment channel. And a few of the questions that come up are where people are saying, like, I've always used this courier, and then suddenly 5 orders in a single day, they've completely let me down. I don't know if I can move. I don't know what the alternatives are. Whereas actually what you're saying, Nick, is you're set up in a way that you could just use whatever courier, whatever shipment company you wanted that's within that app, and you could just see all the prices. A bit like if you were shopping on a site and you basically compared like 5 items side by side. I take it you get that as your shipping option through Shippo.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's incredibly intuitive because there's already so many
Mm.
other things outside of our businesses,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
things that we purchase that are presented to us in a very similar way.
Mm.
Hotels, rental cars, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's been a great one. That's not only helped with saving
Mm.
money, but also just general organization. Um, I
Yeah.
don't need individuals in the warehouse to try to. Um, they don't have to make decisions based on um, variables that are outside of the dashboard now,
Mm.
which is very helpful and very time savings. Yeah, so that's been a big one. The other one that I'm currently
Mm.
oh man, the other one is barcode systems. So until just
Yeah.
several months ago, I was not using a barcode system, and there's some great options available. I'm experimenting with a couple right now, trying to find the right one. But
Mm.
essentially, I'm starting with the barcode system, not necessarily because I feel like I need it for the purpose of receiving or sales, but mostly I feel like it's the first step towards the the system development for managing my inventory.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
inventory management. And
yeah.
I mean, if anybody deals with inventory or warehousing products, the sooner that you can the sooner that you can address inventory management, the better. Even if you're starting off on a small scale to where I mean, just literally like walk through the warehouse and understand what you have every day.
Mm.
Yeah, the sooner the better, because man, it'll sneak up on you so fast, and then there's like
Yeah.
10 pallets in the warehouse that you don't even know are there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And if anyone is wondering about inventory, Inventory Planner are one of our partners as well. We've had them on the show already and spoken to Jill about actually exactly what you're describing. And I guess one of the problems you have is if there's a pallet you don't even know exists, that's potential product that should be on the website, being advertised, can be sent out. Whereas the alternative of that is if you've got a load of products that you do know about that you can't sell, haven't sold, the more data you get to tell you don't order more of those and put them in the warehouse, but do order more of this stuff because this stuff is selling and what the lead time is to get more stock in, etc. I think inventory management is something that I used to, in my naivety in old days, I used to think was so boring and such a dry topic until I looked at the financials of when a business gets it right and gets it wrong, and actually how much of a difference that is. And plenty of businesses have gone bankrupt where they've ordered far too much of the wrong product. It's sitting in a warehouse, they can't sell it, and all that cash is just locked in these physical products that you can't sell. So I guess for you guys, yeah, having all of that organized must have been a game changer actually to your cash flow and actually even how you do marketing and what you merchandise on the store itself.
Yeah, I mean, not yet, but hopefully it will be soon.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Soon. Yeah, yeah.
as you're saying though, I mean, inventory is really incredibly. It feels incredibly boring, and
Yep.
but you're right. Once you start to see the financials, well, and this
Mm,
goes for anything. Like if it's the logistics, the shipping, the packaging materials, these are all kind of boring things. But man, once you start looking at
yeah.
like, oh my, so I mean, I have a real example of one that I just dealt with a couple of weeks ago.
Mm,
Um,
yep.
just the pallets. So, we ship out, I mean, like 50 pallets a day. Our building, the tile
Mm,
is stacked on a pallet, and we ship out like 50 pallets a day. And I just looked at we recently switched providers for the pallets. And again,
yeah.
incredibly boring topic, but I'm like, oh my God, we've just saved tens of thousands of dollars a year by switching
Mm.
a pallet provider. And it suddenly made it very interesting and exciting for me.
Yeah, yeah, no, I completely agree. And I mean, even just with when you talk about pallets and packaging, it reminded me that one of our clients said to us, we want to increase lifetime value. We want people to buy not just once from us, like I think it was like only 10 or 20% of people actually ever bought a second time. And if you look at how many people bought a third time, it was like less than 1%. They said we want to improve that. So I did a bit of a cross section of the whole business and said, send me one of your products. So in fact, don't even send a product, just send all the packaging as if it was a product. And I will do an unboxing video, not for YouTube or anything, but as an influencer, but just to send it back to you and say, this is how rubbish it is. And I didn't use the word rubbish at the time. I said, just send me an empty box, or put a rock in it, send it to me, and I'll unwrap this rock. And I had a look at it and I said, right, it's arrived. Firstly, the box it's in is damaged. Then when I've opened it, there were all these issues like it wasn't properly packaged. There was water damage inside. So we looked at the courier, the packaging they used. And also when I opened it, I was like, unless, apart from the actual product, your brand doesn't exist. It's just a brown cardboard box. There's
Mhm.
nothing else to this. So they optimize that, which is so weird for like the guy who works on PPC and SEO, and my agency does their PPC and SEO to be talking about this. They optimize that, and their repeat orders in the first 3 months went from 20% to like 40%. Does your email marketing suck? Do you wish it converted better and integrated better with your store? Well, there is a solution. We've partnered with Seguno, who are an email platform that is built into Shopify, which means you don't have to leave Shopify to go and manage your email campaigns. So you can run your marketing at the same place you run your shop. To learn more, you can claim your free customer analysis and strategy session and visit seguno.com/winning with Shopify. That's seguno.com/winning with Shopify. Seguno is made for merchants, not marketers. Because people, like, the brand was now what I describe as like sticky. It's
Mhm.
stuck in people's minds and you remember who it is. So like, it is fascinating. You've just saved tens of thousands of dollars changing the person you buy the pallets from. And there's probably more optimizations you can make in the pallet itself, the packaging, or even if it's covered in plastic, saying something like, this is recycled and dissolvable plastic, or whatever other things you could do with it. That you could actually turn something that sounds really dry and really boring. And as we say, like if we said to the 15-year-old version of ourselves, you're going to be excited about palette changing or packaging or finance or something when you're older, but actually make it fun, I think, is the thing. And look at every element of the business and go, how does that affect the customer? So actually you saving money on pallets, what does that mean? You can improve the rest of the packaging, or you can run better marketing, have a better website, make the marketing more entertaining, make the whole process smoother. and as you say, invest in a different piece of tech. But I think so many brands, they miss that. They don't actually sit in the customer's driving seat and go through the journey from beginning of the thing to the end and go, where can I make cost savings? Where should I invest more? And actually, can I change lifetime value, or something that you think about how much brands, and you guys probably do this as well, you focus so much on someone's bought some tiles from us. When are they going to buy more tiles? How do we get them to tell a friend? Like, how do we get more revenue out of this order? And you forget to look at some of the blindingly obvious things, that we've sent something to their house and they've received it. It's physical, which means they've touched it, which is better than the internet can provide. It's a physical thing.
Yeah. So speaking of the repeat customers,
Mm.
yeah, I think it's very easy for people in a lot of industries, tile being one of them, to just kind of, like say, well, people only buy it once. That's why we don't have repeat
Yeah.
customers. Yeah, people aren't going to remodel their kitchen every year. So
Mm.
it's easy to say that, but I believe that regardless of your industry, the potential for repeat customers is always there. And the more that you disregard it and use some excuse about people don't need my product regularly, then the
Yeah.
less likely it is that you're going to receive that repeat business. Um, which so something that something I also want to talk about is our
Mm.
so the by our website, our ecom Shopify website, we're modifying it currently so that when our customers access the website, they're going to have individual logins, which again is not an incredibly uncommon thing currently. But one of the things that I'm very excited about is these logins are going to they're going to generate custom pricing and custom category accessibilities to the
Oh.
different users. So,
Mm.
and one of the places where we see the most potential for repeat customers is through the trade customers,
Yeah.
basically an interior
Yeah.
designer who is buying product for an end user as opposed to the end user themselves.
Mm.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them. So the potential's there. And our
Mm.
hope is that these trade customers will log in and they'll be excited about their login because they'll be excited about their experience through the login
Yep.
because they're going to be seeing things that other people aren't going to see. They'll have access to discounts or specials or
Mm.
promotions that perhaps their competitors don't have access to or their customers are unaware of. So they can
Mm.
have this knowledge that other people are not going to have and then use it to their advantage.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's just incredible. And it's incredible to see that we're able to personalize the system, that the technology allows us to personalize these systems the way that we would if they walked into the door of our brick and mortar. We
Mm.
see someone coming in and we're like, yeah, this person has been in 5 times before. I want to give them a lot of
Yeah.
extra special treatment.
Yeah, or even just ask them as they walk in the door, like, "Are you shopping for yourself, someone else? What you look, what sort of thing are you looking for? Can I help?" It's like, and it's always been the age-old challenge with the internet is how do I do that on a web page? I think you're absolutely right with the trade customers. I love asking my clients, like, what percentage of orders do you get through trade versus retail? How many? Because I think for you guys, if you go like, actually, it's 20% trade but 80% retail, but the 20% trade is only 10 people. Like, and actually, if imagine we had another 10, that's now 40%, like on the 20% it used to be. And suddenly it's a much more scalable model.
Hmm.
Let's keep the retail stuff really strong, but let's do something for these guys. And I guess next question, I'm hoping if the answer is not yes, it's absolutely fine, but I'm hoping it is because I preach about this all the time on the podcast. When you've looked at that offering for trade customers, how many trade customers, or it doesn't have to be how many, but have you spoken to trade customers? Have you sat them down and had a conversation, said, what do you need? What do you need from me to buy more often, to buy more, to better sell it to a customer? How can I help you?
Yeah, you're asking if I've asked them that before?
Yeah. Have you had that conversation with trade customers?
Yeah, I have, but not. I have had that conversation, but
Mm.
it's only regarding products. It's only
Okay.
regarding products, and I rarely ever um, think to I really ever think to phrase the question or gear it towards service.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean because I'm primarily on the most of my work at Clayports is with our product development team, so I'm very
Okay.
fixated on offering the coolest stuff and coming up
Yep.
with like a very desirable product. But
Mm.
you're absolutely right. I mean, I should
Well,
I
that's
should be far more
That's a
interested.
free tip then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, but we talk about it so much on the podcast, I think,
Mhm.
and obviously it's hard to engage them sometimes, and the worst thing ever is if you're trying to engage with any customer, be it trade or retail, and they don't want to engage, but you're there going like, no, please talk to me, I need to ask stuff. So when they do, it's quite begrudgingly like, yeah, I don't care, I don't care, and I don't care are their answers to all of the things. So I think certainly talking to people about service, I've always found quite fascinating. We partnered with Bright Pearl years ago, and they have the whole suite from the moment you place an order, and it starts sending delivery notifications, make sure everything happens, gives you a dashboard like how many orders have been placed, are currently in transit, have been delivered, have been repeat orders, etc. And when we were talking to them about it, they said that one of the things they used to do as well is then send like an SMS message saying like, can you just reply with one to say yes, two for no, has your product arrived and are you happy with it? And then the brand could actually release those statistics. And because they've been getting text messages and clicking on the links going, oh, my product's arriving today, click the link, track the guy in the van, kind of working his way around my city or town before he gets to me. So they would already had almost have been, I remember the chap used the phrase training. They'd almost been trained to like receive these text messages and reply to them.
Mm.
So when they got one saying like, how likely are you to recommend it to a friend, or has the product arrived and are you happy with it? It was just a binary yes or no. So if you put no, they would call you and say, has the product arrived? Yes. Oh, why weren't you happy with it? And make sure they are. But it meant they could then release the statistics to new potential customers to say, 99.9% of our customers are happy as they receive their product. And they told us this out of 20,000 customers, 99.9% of them were happy to receive them. But I think, again, as we're saying, it's almost taking like what's quite a dry back end bit of data or process and going, how do we make it customer facing? And actually, where could we use this in our marketing to find more customers? But so even not talking to your trade customers in that specific way, I think just by very nature of watching you must be watching their shopping habits and that kind of thing to make the decision to go, let's build them their own login. And sometimes you just launch something and see how well it works.
Yeah, and I mean, in addition to that, another major reason
Mm.
for this login, or one of my hopes, is
Mm.
currently our trade customers, and very expectedly, they want to communicate with our sales team. They
Yeah.
want to talk on the phone with somebody to explain their scenario and what they need, and they're used to the very personalized service, which they normally cannot get through a website.
Mm.
So my hope is that it'll decrease that need for the physical sales team, so that their workload can be decreased eventually. Yeah, but that's another thing that I'm currently kind of
Mm.
uncertain about right now, is with these trade customers. Again, their value is incredibly high because they're the ones that are going to buy over and over again. Uh,
Mhm.
so I have to be really delicate with it. But the ones that I do talk to about products or other things,
Mm.
it they don't seem super interested in like the tech software
Mm.
website kind of stuff. They seem far more interested in interacting with people and going into the store and touching the products. That being said,
Mm.
they always like the convenience of having stuff just shipped to their house or their office,
Yeah.
and review it. I know they like that convenience, but when I talk to them, they always emphasize that interest in the human interaction, um,
Mm.
which I don't really find that discouraging, but it
Yeah.
does concern me because I want my website to grow. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I'm doing all these other, in Mexico. There's not as much e-commerce as there is in the United States. So when I'm shopping in Mexico,
Mm.
it's primarily person to person, and it does make me it makes me feel like maybe I want to open up a brick and mortar again. Uh,
I think you do it very differently to before, though, wouldn't you? Having been on this e-commerce journey, there's probably a lot of tech. You could even use Shopify to run the point of sale at the till and the
yeah.
inventory and stuff still. So there's probably still a lot of things you would do now that you haven't done previously. Equally, you could do live shoppable videos where you are live on video, walking around the store, showing people what's going on, and see if that starts to generate orders. There's
Hmm.
probably a good line for it, but that does go completely against what you said is one of your incentives, which is less human interaction.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all a big decision at the end of the day, isn't it? And I guess customers are quite irrational, and seasons change, markets change, buying habits change. And so actually, if it's gone from face to face in the store, COVID happens, it goes online, and now the face to face becomes a nice touch. It's got to be something the business looks at, but only you can obviously make that decision. But I guess in one sense, everything we're talking about here is customer service, and one of the things that obviously is really big at the moment is AI. Are you guys using AI in your customer service at all? Is there an AI bot people talk to before they come through? Are you using it to help kind of channel through email customer service? Like, does AI fit into the business model at all? Thinking how far that probably is from the Mexican face-to-face interaction in stores.
No, well, yes, we do use AI for certain aspects of
Mm,
customer service, but no, not in the chat. Our chats are always one of our
yeah.
salespeople, just from the very
Cool.
start. And at some point, sure, maybe we will incorporate some type of a bot into chat. At least, once we feel confident that the answers are going to be suitable. We don't really want to waste our customers' time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course.
yeah, but where we do use AI is we have a lot of content on how to install our products, how to maintain them, how to unpack them, and a
Mm,
lot of that content, because we have so much of it, we've switched over from generating it all manually, which was primarily just me. Um,
yeah,
yeah, me talking to like one of our copywriters or someone to
yeah,
just like, this is how you handle the product. So
yeah,
now
yeah.
we're able to generate, I mean, almost all of our blog posts and our scripts for our videos. We're able to do all that with AI. And in fact, just yesterday, oh man, the most fun experiment. Um,
Mm.
so ChatGPT. Janet, my wife, actually used ChatGPT yesterday, and I don't know why she did this. I think she was watching something on YouTube. But you're familiar with like these roasts, where they're like, "Oh, Nick's
Yeah,
podcast is so boring that da da da
yeah.
da." Yeah,
I
something like
love
that.
celebrity roast. I don't know if you have
Exactly.
that in the US, but yeah, they
Yeah,
just go at each other and it's hilarious. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But anyway, so Janet asked ChatGPT to make
Mm.
a roast on clay imports, and
Right.
it was mind blowing, Nick. Like it was
I'm doing
hilarious.
this. This is tonight's entertainment. I'm not going out for dinner after all with some family friends. We're doing this
Yeah,
instead.
I mean,
Yeah,
but the intricacy of this was unbelievable. It's like, and it used a lot of the content that we had on our website.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, and it's like Clay Imports likes to work with uh, partners who specialize in the historic craft, and it's like that's another way of saying that Clay Imports doesn't know how to make stuff, so they find people that are better at it than they are.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just,
yeah. I love that. I'm going to do that, and yeah, if anyone wrongs me, I'm going to do it and share it on the podcast.
yeah.
That'll be my new
I mean,
strategy. But one thing we have been doing with
yeah.
AI though, on a slightly serious note, is even with that, I'm just thinking about that roast. Surely you can do like a back and forth, and you say like, now pretend you were Clay Imports and do a counter roast to that, and start a roast battle just within ChatGPT. But that is very similar to something we've actually been doing a lot with SEO, which is within ChatGPT, you have all the different chats on the left. So every time
Uh-huh.
you log in, it starts a new one. We've been creating almost like a kind of ongoing dialogue in different settings with ChatGPT for each of our clients, or even a topic within a client, to help come up with ideas of things we should write about. Because the chatbot, it learns. And this is the key thing I think people don't understand about ChatGPT is every time they open it, they think every message is a fresh conversation, but it's not. It's within the same conversational thread. A bit like sending text messages with a friend. That's all in one chat channel. So you can train it. You can literally give it your client's tone of voice and say, please go on our client's website and read the last 50 blog posts and come back and describe for us the tone of voice. And then you can correct it and say, no, we wouldn't say that. We would say this. We wouldn't use this, but we would use this. And then now tell it, give me a blog post idea around, I don't know, Black Friday's coming out. Give us a blog post idea around Black Friday. And it's way better educated than if you just asked it off the bat, give me a blog post idea for this brand. And we've been using that quite a bit. And actually the tone of voice, it'll only use language and words that has been used previously just in the setting of the thing it's talking about now. And it's fascinating actually watching the way that AI will learn. And I've been a bit apprehensive about AI over the years. Like there's certainly the last couple of years where it's just completely boomed. I've been very slow to do that because I'm a bit. None of us like change, right? It took you 10 years to get out of the bricks and mortar store and start the website. I'm the same. I've been running my business for since 2011, so 13 years, and I don't want to make changes. Like there's some things I will change every single week, and it annoys my team, and there's other things I never want to change, and that also annoys my team. There are other things we do change, which are good, but I think the making a change I've been very nervous to because I kind of think AI can pump out content like there's no tomorrow. So actually, the human content is by definition better than AI. And I think we're ending up in a world where it's probably a mix of both. I'm sure you
Hmm.
guys obviously proofread everything it gives back to you rather than just kind of copy and paste and go live and then check the Google Analytics stats and see no one's read it. Yeah, I think there must be that kind of checking process that you're in, like we have. But it's interesting actually that AI can learn and develop and actually evolve, and you can feed into that same single conversation with it on an ongoing basis.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would believe that you're a chatbot.
My wife sometimes wishes I was, because the chatbot is probably more polite than I can be when I'm tired and grumpy. But yeah, I think certainly there's I think there's certainly room for humans to be writing stuff still. But I don't know if you've seen Google's actually started putting the AI results at the top of Google now. They
Mm.
started in the US and it's rolled out almost globally now. But there have been, I've already shared a couple, so I won't share anymore, but there have been some funny scenarios where it's given out the wrong medical advice, or how to use a toaster was one of them, which it said to put your hand in it and get in the bath was how to
Oh,
use a toaster,
yeah.
because it picked up a blog post where someone had jokingly said
Mhm.
that. So it just assumed it was true. But I guess coming into land then, Nick, like, before we say goodbye and potentially wait another year to catch up with you, what's next on the horizon for you guys? Like, you mentioned bricks and mortar, you've mentioned that you're using more barcode scanning and organizing the warehouse and stuff. Is there anything else that's on the horizon for you guys that you think is going to be really big? Anything that you think might affect other brands that'd be useful to tell our audience before we say goodbye?
Uh, yeah, I think that so I kind of bundling up a lot of the stuff that we are just talking about.
Hmm.
I think that AI is going to help with making a lot of decisions on how we structure our back end, not only in the conventional digital
Hmm.
back end sense, but I'm talking about all of the stuff that's not necessarily customer facing, like um, our, our ordering stuff from our vendors, the labeling that is used on our packaging, the way that those materials are received into our warehouses, where they're stored, how they're stored, and then eventually how they're picked and packaged to ship out. I think
Yep.
that, yeah, I really, and those are all very specific from business to business. And so there has never been a template that really fits every business, or even if businesses within the same industry. There's never been a template that really fits all of them. So it's always been a lot of trial and error. But I believe that we're going to be able to use AI to do very fast analysis of which systems are the most successful for my business or my type of business, and implement those very quickly. Similar to how, I mean, you get AI to write a funny, compelling, entertaining blog post. And
Hmm.
um, yeah. So anyway, that's what I think is going to happen.
Hmm.
And maybe it's a little boring and it's not going to be something that people are going to be excited to see on the internet or our website. But I'm very
Hmm.
excited to know that we're going to get to a place where we're going to be so internally structured and organized that we'll be able to build sustainably on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know you say it's like less of a dry topic. I may not actually be on the website. Customers will see that as soon as they order your product or ask you a question, they'll see that seamless process start to kick
Yeah.
in, and how well you communicate right the way through for how to use the product, as you mentioned earlier, how to handle it is obviously quite a big thing for your customers. From what you've said, how they receive the delivery, how it's packaged, they will see all of that. And that, as we said earlier, is the difference between them buying a second time or referring a friend, or giving you guys a 5-star review, which helps you get the next
Hmm.
order. So I think it's going to massively support your marketing by the sounds of it, but probably indirectly, less of
Yeah.
a like, hey, we're going to do a buy one get one free or some big offer.
Yeah.
It's probably going to indirectly just give that trust and that authority. So when people come to their kitchen and say, where did you get these tiles from? These things are amazing. Like, they look incredible and they're all slightly unique and different. Well, we found these guys. You should check them out. Next time you do a kitchen or a
Hmm.
bathroom or something, you should definitely check them out. This is how they work. And I should have said right at the start, I loaded half a ton of tiles into my car a few months ago. We've just had our bathroom redone, and I decided to go and pick the tiles up myself, bricks and mortar, wanted to have a look at them. And we were driving back from the store to our house, and my wife and I, and her father phoned us up and said, Nick, just to check, have you balanced them out across the whole vehicle, or are they all in the boot? And I sort of said, they're all in the boot. And he was like, it's probably not the best idea to put that much weight on the axle. I mean, it's your decision. You can do what you want. But anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye. And my wife and I just looked at each other like white in the face, like, oh my gosh, we're going to break the car. Unfortunately, the car was fine. But it's just one of those moments of
Hmm.
going like, oh, I'll just chuck some stuff in the back of the car. I didn't even think about it. So that's got to be a consideration for your customers as well. Is all of those, which is where the AI can support content for how much weight can I load into the back of my
Hmm.
car? What's safe? Should I get it delivered? How much is that going to cost? How long will it take, etc.
Did you install it yourself?
No,
Uh,
absolutely not. No, we had a
yeah.
Tyler. But because I work in marketing, I'm quite good at finding good prices, good quality, good businesses to buy from, etc. So we bought pretty much everything ourselves, and then had plumbers, tilers, electricians. The plumber organised it all, and came and did everything. But yeah, we pretty much bought it all ourselves and just kept it in our garage until the project started. But even that, though, I mean, yeah, buying stuff in the trade, like as you said about your competitors, buying stuff in the trade is a nightmare. Like trying to get things delivered. You order something, and a week later, you contact them and say, "Where's my product?" And they're like, "Oh, it's not in stock." And our supplier doesn't have it either. The
Hmm.
manufacturers haven't made any yet. How long is it going to be? Oh, we'll let you know in a month what the latest. Like, I'm trying to redesign a bathroom here. Like, I need it now. And I think so many trade businesses, like their customer service is rubbish. So I think, yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully it's a lot better for your business, and might be different in different countries. But certainly in the UK, like you try and order anything, even the tradies themselves say like, I can't get hold of pipes
Hmm.
to do plumbing at times. Like it's you have to ring 10 companies before you put them that's actually got stuff in stock. So yeah, mad industry, but yeah,
Yeah. Hey, send me a picture of that bathroom. I'd like to check it out.
I will do. We're very proud of it. We designed it ourselves. We're very proud of it. So we'll definitely send it over. But look, Nick, I really appreciate your time. Enjoy Mexico. Enjoy the sun. It's not very warm here in the UK today when we're recording this, but yeah, enjoy all the hot weather. And I really appreciate you joining us again. And I hope things go well for the next year.
All right, Nick. I hope to talk to you soon.
Great stuff. And for everybody listening at home, thanks so much for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and we will be back again next week. See you there. Do you want to up your influencer marketing game? Do you want to meet more influencers, have a better working relationship with influencers? You might even be struggling to talk to them in the first place, or even get them to talk about your product and post to their audiences. Well, at Winning with Shopify, we have teamed up with Affluencer, which is an app you can install on Shopify, and it comes with a 30-day trial. And even in those first 30 days, you can meet a load of influencers and start promoting your product. So there's no excuse. Go and install the app, start the 30-day trial, and give it a go yourself and see how you get on.